Important notice. Notice regarding this digitized text. The reader is informed of several important points concerning this digitized edition, which presents the English translation of a work originally composed in Farsi. While the translator and publishers undoubtedly acted with the best intentions in making the work accessible to an English-speaking audience, the processes of editing and digitization have revealed certain issues in the quality of the translation. Accordingly, grammatical corrections have been made to enhance readability and reduce ambiguity. Spelling mistakes and typographical errors have been corrected, and efforts have been made to improve the non-standard transliteration of Arabic names and terms. This online version is therefore not an exact reproduction of the original printed translation. Readers who wish to consult the translation in its original published form are advised to refer to printed copies available in bookshops. Those capable of understanding the original language are encouraged to consult the source text directly. Translator's Preface. Recently, the non-Muslim world has forcibly learned that Islam is divided into two sects, Shias and Sunni. But there is so little material in languages other than Arabic and Persian on the Shias' side of the issue that real understanding is all but impossible. This is the consequence of the historical accident that Western contact with Islam was almost entirely with Sunni communities, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Ottoman Turkey, most of Muslim India, etc. The present work corrects this imbalance in a most extraordinary way. For the case for Shiite Islam is argued and supported virtually entirely from orthodox Sunni sources. The political, juridical, and spiritual legitimacy of the Shiite position has been argued and documented in the English language, and from sources that the West has largely overlooked. In fact, it is shown here that the most authoritative source for interpreting of the message of the Prophet Muhammad was his cousin and son-in-law, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the 11 other designated successors after him, who constitute the Imams of the Ithna Ashari, 12 Imam Shias. At various times in history, this fact has been more or less recognized by the Muslim world. As recently as 1959, for example, Sheikh Mahmoud Shaltut, late rector of Al-Azhar University in Cairo, and the Grand Mufti of the Sunni sect, decreed that in addition to the 4 Sunni schools of Muslim canon law, Hanafite, Hanbalite, Malikite, and Shafi'ite, the Jafarite or Shia's school of law was equally acceptable to Muslims. A brief account of how this came about, at the instigation of Imam Muhammad Chiri, director of the Islamic Center of North America in Detroit, Michigan, may be found in Chiri's book, The Shiites Under Attack, published by the center. The present work is based on the transcript of a dialogue between several Sunni divines and a 31-year-old Shiite scholar, Al-Abd al-Fani Muhammad al-Musawi Sultanul Wa'adim of Shiraz, Iran, held over a period of 10 nights in Peshawar, India, beginning on 27th January 1927. The dialogues were a model of mutual respect, and in spite of the seriousness of the subject and the presence of an audience of some 200, there was no breach of decorum. The author refers to himself throughout the book as da'i, that is, one who prays for or invokes a blessing upon someone, translated here as well-wisher. His success is indicated by the fact that at the end of the dialogue, one of his Sunni opponents and 5 other dignitaries in the audience publicly acknowledged their conversion to the Shia sect. A condition of the dialogue was that only sources acceptable to both sects would be cited. The dialogue was held in Farsi, commonly understood in the city of Peshawar. The transcript, made by 4 reporters and published in the newspapers daily, was published in book form in Tehran, and soon became a classic authority in the East. The present work is based on the 4th edition, published in Tehran in 1971, the year in which Sultanul Wa'adim died at the age of 75. Although the dialogue was extemporaneous, such was the erudition of Sultanul Wa'adim Shirazi, whose name means Prince of Preachers from Shiraz, that the transcript serves as a detailed bibliographic reference to hundreds of Sunni treatises, well-known and little-known, in which the claims of the Shiites are acknowledged. For this reason, many of the citations refer to the author's recognized sect or school, i.e., Suleiman Balkhi Hanafi, indicating an adherent to the Hanafite sect, Sibt ibn Jawzi Shafi'i, of the Shafi'ite sect, and so on. In spite of the acceptance of the thesis of this book in many parts of the Sunni world, it has also aroused hostility and, unfortunately, has inspired misguided and even perverse meddling with the published authorities. In his introduction to the fourth Persian edition, the author writes, "It is unfortunate enough that the selfishness of some of the scholars reached the point that their commitment to their own belief overcame them, and they dared to meddle with the great works, supposing that by changing or effacing certain studies, the truth would be brought out. And since the state of him to whom God Most High has entrusted the security and preservation of the truth, namely Al-Wa'adim, who was near the end, of his life at the time of writing, translator, does not allow much time for writing an explanatory introduction to this treatise, confirmation of this mischief will be indicated by one example below." On page 301 of the third volume of the commentary, Kashaf, compiled under the direction of Sheikh Mustafa al-Halabi, second edition, 1319 AH, published by the main government printing house of Amiraya Bulaq of Egypt, verses appear in which Jarullah Zamakhshari, the commentator of the Kashaf, declared publicly his belief in the legitimacy of the Shiites. But in the edition of 1373 AH from the printing house Istiqama bil Kahara, the aforementioned poem is not to be found. This is a sample of the actions of the gentlemen of the Sunnis. By the same token, some references which we have indicated in the text of this compendium, i.e. the present book, translator, are not to be found in the newer editions of those references. This is further indication of what has been said. For this reason, some of them have been quoted extensively, so that you may read them in this summary. We have heard that this kind of mischief is continuing today, with new, well-financed, expurgated editions of the basic collections of traditions, i.e. Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, etc., being offered unsuspecting libraries, to replace the older but complete editions. It is for this reason that the extensive bibliographic references in the original have been retained here, at the price of making the book lengthier and less easy to read. 2. Thus, the work will find a place in every department of Near Eastern studies and every divinity school concerned with ecumenical problems in the modern world. It should be closely studied by serious students of political science and world history who are attempting to understand the emerging presence of Islam in world affairs. And it should, of course, be of intense interest to all English-speaking Muslims who wish to have confidence in the sources on which they depend for their understanding of Islam. Among the topics treated in detail are the events surrounding the death of the Holy Prophet, his attempt to make a written will, which was frustrated by Omar, and the secret election of Abu Bakr, the first two successors or caliphs of the Sunni Muslims. Also treated in detail are the events at Ghadir Qum, at which Ali is believed by the Shias to have been explicitly designated by the Prophet as his successor. These are matters of incalculable significance to subsequent history and to the alignment of forces today. Other topics concern misinterpretation of quotations from the Prophet, used to argue that any one of his companions was infallible, thus legitimizing the appalling oppression of the people by many subsequent generations of successors. Misinterpretation of the presence of Abu Bakr in the cave with the Prophet during his flight from Mecca to indicate a singular honor. Abu Bakr's unjust seizure of the property of the daughter of the Prophet. The errors and weaknesses of the Caliph Omar, who acknowledged his dependence upon Ali to interpret Islamic law, Shariat, and his termination of the practice of muta, temporary marriage, contrary to the decree of the Prophet, as supported by correct understanding of the Quran. The cruelty the Caliph Uthman showed to distinguished companions who supported Ali, such as Abu Dar, and the strange position of the Prophet's young wife, Aisha, daughter of Abu Bakr, who led a military campaign against Ali, husband of her contemporary Fatima, the Prophet's own daughter of whom she was fiercely jealous. Fundamental to all of these is the question of the authority for transmission and interpretation of Islamic law and science. This was codified among the Sunnis by four principal legalists in the 2nd and 3rd centuries AH. Their opinions contradicted each other incredibly on such issues as the lawfulness of wine and eating dog's flesh, and permissibility of marriage to one's own daughter. By contrast, the Shia's transmission has been singular and consistent, and in reality was often quoted by Sunni authorities in the past, a fact until now ignored, forgotten, or suppressed. A word needs to be added regarding the transliteration of Arabic and Persian words. We have attempted to follow a middle course between rigorous replication of the full range of the Arabic and Persian sounds and avoiding any forms that would be daunting to the non-Arabist. We have tended toward the latter, reasoning that the Arabist will recognize and resolve any ambiguities in the treatment, while the non-Arabist needs forms that are recognizable and pronounceable. Therefore, we have not attempted to differentiate between Aleph, long A, and Fatiha, short A, using A in all cases. Similarly, we have shown Ya, long I, and Kasra, short I, as I, except for a few cases where the words are commonly known one way or the other, i.e. Suleiman. Nor have we attempted to distinguish the two letters, Sin and Sad. Both are rendered as apostrophe S. The, another letter often transliterated as S, we have shown as the H in, for example, Ibn Thabit. Similarly, Zay and Za are both shown as Z. The Dhad, rendered by some as Z, we have distinguished by using DH as in dhikr or Ramadan instead of Z. The Arabic and Persian Kaf is given as Q, to distinguish it from the Gain, which is given as GH. There is no true G sound in Arabic, but when it appears in Persian words it is transliterated as G, while the Jim, which in Cairo is transliterated as G, and by the Encyclopedia of Islam as DJ, is here simply J. The subtleties of the Arabic terminal A, which in some contexts is pronounced like English ah, and in others like at, have been largely effaced, the rendering being usually simply A. In combination, and in certain plurals, however, at is retained. The Persian ezafeh, which is used to indicate possession by linking the possessor and the possessed. The Persians would say Ibn al-Malik to indicate the son of the king, whereas the Arabs would say Ibn al-Malik. Is difficult to handle. It is usually not written but understood, and it is not readily apparent in titles of works whether they are in fact Persian or Arabic. For example, Kifayatu Talib fi Manaqib al-Ali ibn Abi Talib appears to refer to a work in Arabic, Kifayatut Talib, Intensive Studies, on the subject of the Manaqib al-Ali, i.e., the virtues of Ali. This izafa is variously given as I or E, coupling either words with hyphens or merely joined to the first with or without a hyphen. Thus you will see al-Bayt, the people of the house, referring specifically to the immediate family of the Prophet through his daughter Fatima and her husband Ali, and Sharh al-Nahul Balagha, explanation of the eloquent sermons by Ibn Abil Hadid, regarding the addresses of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Many of the sources quoted are obscure, not available in English, and often referred to in various ways by scholars, and sometimes even by the author, Sultanul Wa'adim. Where possible, these problems have been resolved, and the name of the work or author commonly used by scholars is given. Although we have worked from the Persian edition, we would like to acknowledge the help of an English translation published in 1977 by the Pir Mohammed Ibrahim Trust in Karachi. A similar debate, but by exchange of letters was published in 1936 and reissued under the title of The Right Path, originally Al-Muraja'at, by Pir Muhammad Ibrahim Trust in 1972. A revised edition was issued by Zara Publications, Blanco, Texas, in 1986. This exchange began in 1911 between the Sunni head of Al-Azhar University in Cairo and an eminent Shia scholar from Lebanon, explaining the Shia's beliefs. Its publication, no doubt, laid the groundwork for the eventual formal recognition by Al-Azhar University in 1959 of the Shia's Jafarite school of jurisprudence, identified with the Shiite Imam Jafar Sadiq mentioned above. May Allah forgive our errors and accept our intention, and bless Muhammad and his family. Hamid Quinlan, Charles Ali Campbell, 11 Jamadi al-Awwal, 1416 AH 7, October 1995. The book. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sultanul Wa'adim Shirazi, an eminent scholar of Iran, visited India in 1927 AD, 1345 AH, when he was 30 years old. He was given a rousing reception everywhere he went. People benefited from his knowledge of tradition, history, and commentary on the Holy Quran. He was persuaded to enter into a religious debate on the 23rd of Rajab, 1345 AH, with people of another belief in Peshawar, in what was then India and is today Pakistan. The discussion took place on 10 successive nights. The two principal participants from the opposite side were renowned scholars of Kabul, Hafiz Muhammad Rashid and Sheikh Abdus Salam. 4 reporters recorded the discussions in the presence of approximately 200 people, Shias and Sunni Muslims. Local newspapers published these accounts each following morning. Sultanul Wa'adim Shirazi compiled the newspaper accounts of the discussions in a book in Persian, published in Tehran as Shabhaye Peshawar, or Peshawar Nights. The following is a translation of that book. The first session, Thursday night, 23rd Rajab, 1345 AH. Hafiz Muhammad Rashid, Sheikh Abdul Salam, Sayyid Abdul Hai, and other scholars of that region were present. The discussion began in the presence of a large gathering. In the magazines and newspapers, they referred to the writer as Qibla o Kaaba, but in these pages I have referred to myself as well-wisher, and to Hafiz Muhammad Rashid as Hafiz. Hafiz,
we are very pleased to have this opportunity to discuss the basic points on which we differ. We should first decide how we should proceed.
Well-wisher.
I am willing to participate in discussions on the condition that we cast aside all preconceived ideas and discuss matters reasonably, like brothers.
Hafiz,
I may also be permitted to make one condition, that our discussions should be based on the injunctions of the Holy Quran.
well-wisher.
This condition is not acceptable, since the Holy Quran is so concise that its deep significance must be interpreted through reference to other facts and hadith.
Hafiz,
Right. This is sensible, but it is also necessary that reference be made to hadith and events that are based on indisputable evidence. We should refrain from referring to doubtful sources.
well-wisher.
Agreed. For a man like me who is proud enough to claim relationship with the Prophet, it is not fair to go against the examples set forth by my ancestor, the Prophet of Islam. He has been addressed in the Holy Quran as follows, and most surely you conform yourself to sublime morality. Chapter 68, verse 4. It is also unbecoming to act against the injunctions of the Holy Quran, which says, "Call to the way of your Lord with wisdom and goodly exhortation, and have disputations with them in the best manner." Chapter 16, verse 225.
Relationship with the Holy Prophet. Hafiz,
Excuse me. You refer to your relationship with the Holy Prophet. It is commonly known, but I ask that you let me know your genealogy, so that I may know how your ancestral line reaches the Prophet.
well-wisher.
My ancestral line reaches the Prophet through Imam Musa Kazem as follows. Muhammad, son of Ali Akbar Ashraful Wadim, son of Ismail Mushtahid al-Waiz, son of Ibrahim, son of Saleh, son of Abi Ali Muhammad, son of Ali, known as Mardan, son of Abil Qasim Muhammad Taqi, son of Maqbuluddin Hussein, son of Abi Ali Hassan, son of Muhammad ibn Fatullah, son of Ishaq, son of Hashim, son of Abi Muhammad, son of Ibrahim, son of Abil Fityan, son of Abdullah, son of Hassan, son of Ahmed, Abu Tayyib, son of Abi Ali Hassan, son of Abu Jafar Muhammad al-Hayri Nazil al-Kirman, son of Ibrahim az-Zarir, known as Mujab, son of Amir Muhammad al-Abid, son of Imam Musa Kazim, son of Imam Jafar Sadiq, son of Imam Muhammad Baqir, son of Imam Ali Zainul Abidin, son of Imam Hussein, son of the Commander of the Faithful, Ali bin Abi Talib.
Hafiz.
This line of descent reaches the Commander of the Faithful, Ali, may Allah bless him. Although you have said that it ends with the Holy Prophet, in fact, with this genealogy, you should call yourself among the relations of the Holy Prophet, and not among his direct descendants. A descendant is one who is directly linked with the Prophet.
Well-wisher.
Our ancestral line reaches the Prophet through Bibi Fatima Zahra, the mother of Imam Hussein. I don't understand why you insist so much on this point.
Hafiz.
I think I am misunderstood. It is my point of view that descent is recognized from the male side only. I quote an Arabic couplet. My sons, grandsons, and daughters are from me, but my daughters' sons are not from me. If you can prove otherwise, please do so.
Well-wisher.
There is strong evidence, both from the Holy Quran and from authentic hadith, to establish my point.
Hafiz.
Please relate it so that we may understand.
Well-wisher.
While you were speaking just now, I recalled a discussion between Harun al-Rashid, the Abbasid Caliph, and our Imam, Musa Kazim, on this topic. The Imam gave such a convincing reply that the Caliph himself accepted it.
Hafiz.
I would like to hear about that discussion.
Well-wisher.
Abu Ja'far Muhammad ibn Ali, entitled Sheikh Saduq, in the 4th century AH, in his Uyun al-Akbar al-Rida, Major Sources for Imam Rida, and Abu Mansur ibn Ali Tabarsi, in his Ihtijaj, Supports, give a detailed account of the conversation that took place between Harun al-Rashid and Imam Musa Jafar in the Caliph's court. The Caliph asked the Imam, "How can you claim that you are a descendant of the Holy Prophet? The Prophet Muhammad had no descendant. It is acknowledged that descendants are from the male side and not from the female side. You belong to the generation of his daughter." The Imam recited verses 84 to 85 from chapter 6 of the Holy Quran. "And we gave to him Isaac and Jacob. Each did we guide, and Noah did we guide before, and of his descendants, David and Solomon and Job and Joseph and Aaron, and thus do we reward those who do good. And Zachariah and John and Jesus and Elias, every one was of the good." 684 to 85. The Imam asked the Caliph, "Who was Jesus' father?" Harun replied that Jesus had no father. Imam said, "There was no one, and yet Allah included Jesus in the progeny of the prophets through Mary. Similarly, He has included us in the progeny of the Holy Prophet through our ancestor, Bibi Fatima." Imam said finally, moreover, Imam Fakhruddin Razi, in his Tafsir al-Kabir, Great Commentary, Book 4, page 124, problem 5 says regarding this verse, that the verse proves that Hassan and Hussein are the descendants of the Prophet of Islam. Since in this verse God has verified Jesus as a descendant of Abraham, and Jesus had no father, this relationship is from the side of the mother. In the same manner, Hassan and Hussein are truly the descendants of the Prophet. Imam Musa Kazim asked Harun if he wanted further proof. The Caliph asked the Imam to continue. The Imam read verse 60 from chapter 3, Al-Imran, of the Holy Quran. "But whoever disputes with you in this matter after what has come to you of knowledge, then say, 'Come, let us call our sons and your sons, and our women and your women, and ourselves and yourselves. Then let us be earnest in prayer, and pray for the curse of Allah on the liars.'" He continued, saying that no one has ever claimed that on the occasion of the spiritual contest, Mubahala, against the Christians of Najran, that the Prophet took with him anyone except Ali ibn Abu Talib, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein. It follows therefore that selves, anfusana, means Ali ibn Abi Talib. Women, nisa'ana, means Fatima. And sons, abna'ana, means Hassan and Hussein, whom Allah has identified as the Prophet's own sons. Upon hearing this argument, Harun exclaimed, "Bravo, O Abul Hassan!" Clearly, this reasoning proves that Hassan and Hussein are the sons of the Prophet, and that the Sadat Fatima, descendants of Bibi Fatima, are of the progeny of the Holy Prophet.
Additional evidence proving that the descendants of Bibi Fatima are of the progeny of the Holy Prophet.
Ibn Abil Hadid Mutazali, one of your greatest scholars, in his Sharh in Najul Balaga, commentary on the Peak of Eloquence, writings of Commander of the Faithful Ali, and Abu Bakr Razi, in his commentary, have cited the same verse, arguing that Hassan and Hussein are, from the side of their mother, the sons of the Holy Prophet, in the same way that Allah in the Holy Quran has included Christ in the progeny of Abraham from the side of his mother, Mary. Muhammad ibn Yusuf Ganji Shafi'i, in his book Kifayatu Talib, and Ibn Hajar Maki on pages 74 and 93 of Sawa'iq Muharraka from Tabrani and Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari, and Khatib Kawarizmi in Manaqib from Ibn Abbas, all relate that the Prophet said, Allah created the progeny of every prophet from his own generation, but my progeny was created in the generation of Ali. Also, Khatib al-Khawarizmi in Manaqib, Mir Sayyid Ali Hamadani Shafi'in Mawadatul Qurba, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal in Musnad, and Suleiman Hanafi Balhi in Yanabiul Mawada relate, in more or less the same words, that the Holy Prophet said, "These, my two sons, are two flowers of this world, and both of them are imams, leaders, whether they are imams openly or silently sitting at home." And Sheikh Suleiman Hanafi, in his Yanabiul Mawada, devotes chapter 57 to this topic, and cites many hadith from his own learned men, like Tabrani, Hafiz Abdul Aziz ibn Abi Shayba, Khatib al-Baghdadi Hakim, Bayhaqi, Bagawi, and Tabari, all relating in slightly differing versions that Hassan and Hussein are the sons of the Prophet. Towards the end of the same chapter, Abu Salih writes, Hafiz Abdulaziz ibn al-Akhzar, Abu Nuaym, Tabari, Ibn Hajar Makion, page 112 of Sawa'iq Murika, from Muhammad ibn Yusuf Ganji Shafi'i, at the end of part 1 after 100 chapters of Kifayatu Talib, and Tabari in the narration of the life of Imam Hassan, relate that the second caliph, Umar ibn Khattab, said, "I heard the Prophet say that on the Day of Judgment, every ancestry will be disconnected, except my generation. Every generation of a daughter is from the father's side, except the generation of Fatima, which is connected with me. I am their father and ancestor." Sheikh Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Amir Shabrawi Shafi'i, in his book Kitabul Itihafbi Hubil Ashraf, quoted this hadith from Bayhaqi and Darqutni, from Abdullah ibn Umar, and he from his father, on the occasion of the wedding of Kulthum. And Jalaluddin Suyuti, quoting from Tabrani in his Awsat, has related from Caliph Umar and Sayyid, Abu Bakr ibn Shahabuddin Alawi, on pages 39 to 42 of chapter 3 of Rishfatu Sadi min Bahra Fazail Bani Nabiyu al-Hadi, printed in Maktabi, Alamiya, Egypt, in the year 1303 AH, proving that the descendants of Fatima are of the progeny of the Prophet of Islam. Hence, the couplet that you quoted has no force in the face of all this contrary evidence. Muhammad ibn Yusuf Ganji Shafi'i, in his Kifayatu Talib, proves that the sons of the Prophet's daughter are the sons of the Holy Prophet. Our ancestral line goes back to Imam Hussein. We are, therefore, descendants of the Prophet.
Hafiz,
Your argument is reasonable and convincing. The people dispersed for the Isha prayer.
during the recess, Nawab Abdul Qayyum Khan, who belongs to a noble family of the Sunnis, asked permission to ask well-wishers some questions.
Why Shias combine their prayers?
Nawab,
Why do the Shias combine the prayers of Zuhr and Asr and Maghrib and Isha? This is not in keeping with the practice of the Holy Prophet.
well-wisher,
In the first place, among your own learned men, there is much difference of opinion concerning this issue. Secondly, you say that we go against the practice of the Prophet. Here, you were mistaken, since the Holy Prophet used to offer these prayers in both ways, sometimes separately and sometimes together. Nawab Sahib, turning to his learned men, asked them if it was true that the Prophet offered the prayers in both ways.
Hafiz.
He did, but only when he was on a journey or when there was some other hindrance, like rain. Otherwise, when he was at home, he always offered his prayers separately.
It is recorded in your own hadith that the Prophet used to offer prayers separately as well as combined at home, and without any obstruction. Many hadith confirm this fact. Muslim ibn Hajjaj, in his Sahih, in the chapter Jama' Bayna Salatain fil Hazar, says that Ibn Abbas said, "The Prophet used to say Zuhr and Asr, as well as Maghrib and Isha prayers jointly, without being constrained to do so, or when he was at home." Again, Ibn Abbas narrated, "We said 8 rakats of Zuhr and Asr, and later 7 rakats of Maghrib and Isha prayers jointly with the Holy Prophet." The same hadith has been related by Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal in his Musnad, Part 1, page 221. Similarly, Imam Muslim quotes a number of hadith concerning this issue. He quotes Abdullah ibn Shakikis having said that one day, Abdullah ibn Abbas was reading an address after the Asr prayers until the sun set and the stars were visible. People cried, "Prayers, prayers," but Ibn Abbas paid no heed to them. Then one of the Bani Tamimi shouted, "Prayers, prayers." Ibn Abbas then said, "You remind me of the Sunnah, but I myself have seen the Holy Prophet combine Zuhr and Asr, as well as Maghrib and Isha prayers." Abdullah ibn Shakik said that he felt uncertainty about these words and went to Abu Huraira to ask him about it. He verified what Ibn Abbas had said. Through another chain of narrators, Abdullah ibn Shakik has narrated from Akil that once Abdullah ibn Abbas spoke to the people from the pulpit, he remained there so long that darkness fell. When someone shouted thrice, "Prayer, prayer, prayer," Abdullah ibn Abbas became annoyed and said, "Woe be to you! You dare remind me of prayer? Even though during the Holy Prophet's days we used to combine Zuhr with Asr as well as Maghrib with Isha prayers." Kalon Zarqani, in Sharh Muwatta of Imam Malik Part 1, in the chapter of Jama'a Bayna Salatain, page 263, states, Misa'i related through Amru ibn Haram from Abi Sha'ata that Ibn Abbas said his Zuhr and Asr prayers, as well as Maghrib and Isha prayers jointly in Basra, without any time lag or action between them. He said that the Holy Prophet offered his prayers in the same way. Also, Muslim in Sahih and Malikin Muwatta, chapter Jama' Bayna Salatain. And Imam Hanbal in Musnad quotes Ibn Abbas through Sa'id ibn Jabir that the Holy Prophet offered his Zuhr and Asr prayers together in Medina, without being constrained to do so by fear or bad weather. Abu Zubair said he asked Abu Sa'id why the Prophet combined the two prayers. Sa'id said that he too asked Ibn Abbas the same question. Ibn Abbas replied that he combined the two prayers so that his followers might not be put to undue hardship and suffering. Also, in many other hadith, Ibn Abbas is related to have said that the Holy Prophet of Islam combined Zuhr and Asr as well as Maghrib and Isha prayers without being constrained to do so. These hadith in your Sahih and in many other authentic books prove the permissibility of the combination of the two prayers, both at home and during travel.
Hafiz.
There is no such quotation of hadith in Sahih Bukhari.
Well-wisher, because all the authors of Sahih, like Muslim, Nisa'i, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and exponents of the Sahihain, of Muslim, Mubhari, and other great Sunni scholars have quoted these things, this is sufficient for us to win our point. But in fact, Bukhari too has recorded these hadith in his Sahih, but he has deceitfully put them away from their proper place, the section concerning the combination of two prayers. If you go through the chapters Bab al-Ta'akhiru Zuhr lil-Asr min Kitabe Mawaqitu Salat and Bab al-Dhikru il-Isha wal-Atma and Bab al-Waqtu el-Maghrib, you will find all these hadith there. Recording these hadith under the heading Permission and Authorization to Combine Two Prayers proves that it is the common belief of learned men of the two sects. The authenticity of these hadith has already been acknowledged in the books of Sahih. Accordingly, Allama Nuri in Sharh Sahih Muslim, Asqalani, Kastalani, Zakaria al-Razi, in the commentaries that they have written on Sahih Bukhari, Zarqani in his commentary on the Muwatta of Malik, and others related these hadith. After quoting the hadith of Ibn Abbas, they acknowledged their authenticity and admitted that these hadith are proofs of the acceptability of combining two prayers.
Nawab,
How is it possible that these hadith have been put into practice since the time of the Holy Prophet, but learned men have adopted a different path?
Well-wisher. This situation is not confined to this topic alone. You will see many such examples later. In this matter, Sunni scholars of jurisprudence, apparently without much serious thought, or for other reasons which I do not understand, have given unintelligible explanations contradicting these hadith. For instance, they say that perhaps these hadith refer to situations involving fear, danger, rains, or winds. Some of your older scholars, like Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, and some other jurists of Medina, gave the same explanation. This despite the fact that the hadith of Ibn Abbas clearly says that the two prayers were offered without the constraint of fear or the possibility of rainfall. Others have suggested that perhaps the sky was overcast, and those offering prayers did not know the time. Perhaps, when they finished their Zuhr prayers, the clouds dispersed, and they saw that it was time for Asr prayers. So, they had to offer Zuhr and Asr prayers together. I don't think a more unlikely explanation could be found. Perhaps these interpreters did not care to think that the person offering prayers was the Holy Prophet of Islam's clouds, did not mean to him what they might to others. He understood all causes and effects. Apart from the fact that this explanation is unconvincing, the combining of Maghrib and Isha prayers rejects their explanation. At that time, clouds have no relevance to this question. As we said, the hadith of Ibn Abbas clearly states that his address continued so long that the audience repeatedly cried, "Prayers, prayers." They reminded him that the stars had appeared, and it was time for prayers. But he purposely delayed the Maghrib prayer so that he might offer both Maghrib and Isha prayers together. Abu Huraira also verified this action, saying that the Prophet also acted in the same manner. Such spurious explanations, in light of clear guidance, are regrettable. Your own learned men reject them. Shaykhul Islam Ansari, in his Tufatul Bari fi Sharh Sahihul Bukhari, in the chapter Salatu Zazor Mal Aswar al-Maghrib Mal Isha, page 292, part 2, and similarly, Allama Kastalani, on page 293, part 2, of Irshadu Zasari fi Sharh Sahihul Bukhari, as well as other exponents of Sahih Bukhari, admit that this kind of explanation is against the obvious meaning of the hadith, and that to insist that every ritual prayer be offered separately is a groundless requirement.
Nawab,
Then, how did this controversy arise so that the two sects of Muslims are after the blood of each other and condemn each other's actions?
well-wisher,
You say that the two sects of Muslims are inimical to each other, but I disagree. We Shias do not look down upon any of the learned men or common people of our brothers, the Sunnis. We regret that propaganda of the Harijis, the Nasibis, and the Umayyads have affected the hearts of some people. Unfortunately, some Sunnis regard their Shias brothers, who are one with them as regards the Qibla, the Kaaba, the Holy Book, the Quran, and the Prophet, as Rafizis, dissenters, idolaters, and infidels. As for your question regarding how this difference originated, perhaps we can discuss this in later meetings. Concerning the saying of prayers separately or together, Sunni legal scholars have recorded hadith which permit the offering of Zuhr with Asr and Maghrib with Isha prayers as a matter of ease, comfort, or safety. I do not know why some do not consider it permissible to offer the two prayers together in the absence of any obstruction. Some authorities, like Abu Hanifa and his adherents, forbid it under any circumstances, whether there is any obstruction or not, or whether the prayers are said during travel or at home. The Shafi'ites, Malikites, and Hanbalites, with all of their differences in essential and non-essential tenets, have permitted the combining of the prayers during a lawful journey. But the Shia's ulama, in obedience to the holy imams and the progeny of the Holy Prophet, have unconditionally permitted the offering of prayers together. Of course, the offering of prayers at the time specified for each ritual prayer is preferable to praying in one interval, as has been clearly stated in expository books dealing with problems of religious performance written by Shia's ulama. Since people are often busy with their own affairs and have their own cares and anxieties, they fear they might miss their prayers. Hence, for their own convenience, and to avoid hardship and suffering, the Shias say their 2 prayers in one interval, whether early or late during the appointed time. Now, I think this much is sufficient to enlighten our Sunni brothers, who look at us with indignation. Perhaps we can return to our discussions about the fundamentals, after which the questions concerning practice will be solved.
How the Allama's ancestors migrated from the Hijaz to Iran. Hafiz Sahib asked Allama Sultan al-Wadim to tell him how his ancestors migrated from the Hijaz to Iran. He gave a history of his ancestors who were murdered in Shiraz on the order of the Abbasid king. Their mausoleums still attract pilgrims from distant places. Notable among them are Sayyid Amir Muhammad Abid, Sayyid Amir Ahmad Shah Sharag, Sayyid Alauddin Hussein, all sons of Imam Musa Kazim. The details concerning his family are omitted. How the grave of the commander of the faithful Ali was discovered. Mention was also made of the discovery of the sacred grave of the commander of the faithful, Ali. Hafiz.
But in what state was the grave of the commander of the faithful, Ali, discovered 150 years after his death?
Well-wisher.
Because Umayyad oppression was so intense during Ali's later life, he stipulated in his will that his body should be laid in a grave secretly at night, and that no trace of the grave should be left. Only a few of his close companions and his sons attended the burial. On the morning of the 21st of Ramadan, when he was to be buried, 2 conveyances were prepared. One was instructed to go to Mecca, the other to Medina. That is why for years his grave remained unknown, except to a few companions and his own sons.
Hafiz.
Why was the grave's location kept a secret?
Well-wisher.
Probably out of fear of the irreligious Umayyads. They were particularly inimical to the members of the progeny of the Prophet. They could have desecrated the grave.
Hafiz.
But is it possible that a Muslim, even though an enemy, might violate the grave of a brother Muslim?
Well-wisher.
Have you studied the history of the Umayyads? From the day this wretched dynasty came to power, the door of oppression was opened among Muslims. Good heavens, what atrocities they committed, what blood they shed, and what honors they spoiled. With deep shame, your eminent scholars recorded their many crimes. Allama Makrizi Abul Abbas Ahmad ibn Ali Shafi'i recorded the heart-rending atrocities of the Umayyads in his book Anaza wa Tahasum Fima Baina Bani Hashim wa Bani Umayyah.
Desecration of graves by Bani Umayyad.
As examples of what they were capable of, I will cite only 2 events. The martyrdom of Zayd ibn Ali ibn Hussein, known as Zayd Shahid, i.e. the martyr, and the martyrdom of his son, Yahya. Historians of both Shias and Sunnis recorded that when Hisham ibn Abdul Malik became the caliph, he committed many atrocities. With regard to the Bani Hashim, he was particularly cruel. At last, Zayd ibn Ali, the son of Imam Zainul Abidin, and well known as a great scholar and a pious theologian, went to see the caliph to seek redress for the grievances of the Bani Hashim. But as soon as Zayd arrived, the caliph, instead of greeting him as a direct descendant of the Holy Prophet, abused him with such abominable language that I cannot repeat it. Because of this disgraceful treatment, Zayd left Syria for Kufa, where he raised an army against the Bani Umayyad. The governor of Kufa, Yusuf ibn Umar Thaqafi, came out with a huge army to face him. Zayd recited the following war poem. Disgraceful life and honorable death, both are bitter morsels, but if one of them must be chosen, my choice is honorable death. Zia, Shitu. Although he fought bravely, Zayd was killed in the battle. His son, Yahya, took his body from the field and buried him away from the city near the riverbank, causing the water to flow over it. However, the grave was discovered, and, under Yusuf's orders, the body was exhumed. Zayd's head was cut off and sent to Hisham in Syria. In the month of Safar, 121 AH, Hisham had the sacred body of this descendant of the Prophet placed on the gallows entirely naked. For 4 years, the sacred body remained on the gallows.
Thereafter, when Walid ibn Yazid ibn Abdul Malik ibn Marwan became caliph in 126 AH, he ordered that the skeleton be taken down from the gallows, burnt, and the ashes scattered to the wind. This accursed man committed a similar atrocity to the body of Yahya ibn Zayd of Gurgan. This nobleman also opposed the oppression of the Bani Umayyah. He too was martyred on the battlefield. His head was sent to Syria, and, as in the case of his revered father, his body was hung on the gallows for 6 years. Friend and foe alike wept at the sight. Waliyuddin Abu Muslim Khorasani, who had risen against the Bani Umayyah on behalf of Bani Abbas, took his body down and buried it in Gurgan, where it is a place of pilgrimage.
Misdeeds of this dynasty.
In view of the misdeeds of this accursed dynasty, the body of the commander of the faithful, Ali, was buried during the night, and no trace of his grave was left. The grave remained virtually unknown until the days of Caliph Harun ar-Rashid. One day, Harun came hunting in the locality of Najaf, where deer lived in large numbers. When the hounds chased the deer, they took refuge on the mound of Najaf, a small hill which the hounds would not ascend. Several times when the hounds retreated, the deer would come down, but when the hounds again leapt at them, the deer took refuge on the mound. Understanding that there was a reason for the hounds' behavior, Harun sent his men to inquire in Najaf. They brought an old man to him, and the caliph asked about the secret of why the hounds did not climb up on the mound.
Discovery of the sacred grave of Ali.
The old man replied that he knew the secret, but that he was afraid to disclose it. The caliph guaranteed him safety, and the man told him, "Once I came here with my father, who went on the mound and offered prayers there. When I asked him what was there, he said that they had come there with Imam Jafar Sadiq for a visit, ziyarat. The Imam had said that this was the sacred grave of his revered grandfather, the commander of the faithful, Ali, and that it would shortly become known." At the caliph's behest, that place was dug up, and the signs of a grave became apparent, along with a tablet with an inscription in Syriac, meaning, "In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful." This grave has been prepared by the Prophet Noah for Ali, the vicegerent of Muhammad 700 years before the deluge. Caliph Harun paid respects to the place and ordered the restoration of the earth. He then performed 2 rakats of prayer. He wept much and laid himself on the grave. Thereafter, on his orders, the whole matter was disclosed to Imam Musa Kazim at Medina. The Imam confirmed that the grave of his revered grandfather, commander of the faithful, Ali, was at that place. Harun then decreed that a stone building be erected over Commander of the Faithful's sacred grave, which came to be known as Hajar Haruni, the stone structure built by Harun. In due course, the news spread, and Muslims visited the holy place. Ibrahim Mujab, the great-great-grandfather of Sultan al-Wa'adim, well-wisher, also left Shiraz for this holy visit, and after performing the ziyarat, died in Karbala. He was buried near the sacred grave of his great-grandfather, Imam Hussein. His grave is located in the northwestern corner of his sacred mausoleum and is visited regularly by his admirers.
Differences about the burial place of the commander of the faithful.
Hafiz, despite these conclusive remarks, I think that the grave of Ali, may Allah bless him, is not located in Najaf. Scholars differ on this point. Some say it is in the State House in Kufa. Some say it is in the Qibla of the central mosque of Kufa. Some say that it is in the gate known as Bab al-Kinda of the mosque of Kufa. Some hold that it is in Rahba in Kufa. Still others say it is beside the grave of Fatima in Baki. In our Afghanistan too, there is a place near Kabul known as the Mausoleum of Ali. According to one account, the sacred body of Ali was placed in a box and laid on the back of a camel and sent toward Medina. A party of men snatched the box, believing it contained valuables. On opening it, they saw the sacred body, brought it to Kabul, and buried it at this place. That is why people revere this place.
Well-wisher.
These differences arose because of the details of his will, which stipulated that the arrangements for his burial obfuscate his burial place.
It is related from Imam Jafar Sadiq that at the time of his death, the commander of the faithful told his son, Imam Hussein, that after burying him in Najaf, he should prepare 4 graves for him in 4 different places: in the Mosque of Kufa, in Rahba, in the house of Judah Hira, and in Gira. The Shias agree that his sacred grave is in Najaf.
Whatever they have learned from the al-Bayt is authentic. The people of the house know best about what relates to the house. I really wonder at your scholars, who have neglected the sayings of the progeny of the Holy Prophet in every matter. They did not inquire about the location of the grave of the father from his own sons in order to learn the truth. It is certain that the children know more about the grave of their father than others do. If any of these current theories had been correct, the holy imams would have informed their followers of it. But they have confirmed the location in Najaf, visited the place themselves, and have exhorted their adherents to visit it. Sibit ibn Jawzi has, in his Tadkira, mentioned these differences. He says, "The 6th view is that it is in Najaf, at the well-known place which is commonly visited. To all appearances, this is the correct view. Similarly, your other scholars, such as Khatib Khawarizmi in Manaqib, Muhammad ibn Shafi in Matalabu Su'ul, Ibn Abil Hadid in Sharh Nahjul Balagha, Firuzabadi in his lexicon Qamus under the word Najaf, and others have held that the commander of the faithful's grave is located in Najaf."
End of Session 1.